Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to episode, 163 of the Guardian Hub podcast, where we talk Destiny, interview guests, and talk about our love of the game. And this is the opening of Season of the Haunted. Destiny Season 17, is that right?
17, I think, is accurate.
Yes. It is upon us, the first week out. So tonight, why don't we talk about reviews on a couple things of what we think of the season so far, the seasonal activities, and also, since we're recording a little bit later in the week, we can talk about the dungeon that was released. And then, maybe even beforehand, when we're talking about like the seasonal activities in the dungeon, I would like Des, or whoever, probably Des, because Sin or I may not know the story as well, just a quick recap of what everything means, because I'm a dum-dum and don't even know really the basics of the dungeon because I was not reading or listening to the voice lines.
You were too busy going through it?
Yeah. Good enough? All right.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So, yeah, Season of the Haunted. Yes, we are on... Okay, so... Oh, yeah. So they were keeping it secret, and then it was planned to come out. They told us the morning before, but then we think Japan might have released it early, or maybe this was the plan all along. And then the night before, the trailer leaked out, and then they pushed the full trailer out. And then we started.
Right. It was the night before that we got that other version of it. Somebody posted in our Discord.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, we found out that, in a sense, the Leviathan is back because the Leviathan is on the moon. But, talk about
that.
Is it?
I don't think it's directly on the moon, but it is in the vicinity of the moon for sure.
That's what it is. Okay. So it's like right next to it in orbit, right above it.
So. Yeah, I don't think it's actually on the moon itself, but information could come up that corrects me about that. So
supposedly there's this does make sense. I mean, if it was on the moon, then in a way, and even in the picture in the director, it shows it just to the left. So it does make sense. Like this isn't quote directly.
It is supposed to be a world eater, right? So it's got to be bigger than the physical actual moon itself, I'd imagine, right?
Well, that's true too. I mean, it's probably about the size of the moon, to be honest. Because it's not an absolutely ginormous thing. But still, I wouldn't say it's as large as a Death Star, I wouldn't say.
Yeah,
potentially not.
I'm
potentially
beaming down the moon right now. Supposedly you can see it in the skybox. Harbor. And when people were trying to reference different sizes, they're like, when they say world eater, I think of it more as like maybe it just eats small parts or blows up a world and then eats it. It's not going to be like size that it could swallow Jupiter whole.
For sure, because it apparently spent the entire time of Synthesis' orbit eating it. So,
yes.
It's definitely nothing huge.
It's not like swallowing it direct. Yes, go to if you're in Game Sin or Des, go to Saros Harbor. It's actually pretty cool in the skybox. You can see kind of a reference. It's pretty darn close to the surface, and you can kind of see the size of it. And you can see the very top, the whole Leviathan raid. Well, now it's the patrol area. At the very top with the circular and all the pillars and columns, and that's the area that we kind of explore, the upper top area where we're doing that patrol.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty to do that. I didn't check out. I was thinking of that before you said it, and it seems like a good idea to go and check it out for sure.
But the Leviathan is now what, the derelict Leviathan?
Yes.
And it has haunted moon things on it. And it has the stuff like from the Presage mission, the aggregate or whatever the hell that's.
Egregore.
Egregore, thank you. I mean, what are we taking? Just even you can go as short or long as you want, Des. What are we taking? Like, what basically happened here?
I mean, Kalos communed with presumably the witness.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, I think it's pretty much confirmed that he's communed with the witness. So he's definitely attempting. I don't know. He essentially wants to be chosen by the darkness, and that's kind of like the kind of like his end goal essentially. I think he's kind of in that right. He wants to see like I don't know. His motivations are a little weird because again, he went into like while on the Leviathan, he went to this like empty space of space, saw like the nothingness there, and was just utterly enamored by this nothingness, which is kind of like led him to this darkness where there's supposed to be nothing afterwards. So yeah, he's weird. Yeah,
but it's kind of sad because on the Leviathan, it's not all shiny and pretty anymore, and like the water areas and pools are like all dried up, and there's all the egregore taking over, and it's looking all ugly.
Mm-hmm. This is blah. Presumably, this is the start of his communion with the darkness, basically, which could be why the egregore is everywhere. I mean, yeah, it's the egregore almost reminds me of the plants, the flowers in the Black Garden, which are said to supposed to like take over you, essentially.
Yeah.
Because we have that one mission where we find a body where the egregore is fused to like skull and neck, essentially, I think was where it was. So yeah, very weird.
And the goal of the Leviathan being near the moon now is what? To get us to trick us to come aboard it? Or is he trying to do something just closer to us in orbit?
I don't know. This is, because I think that was a line that Eris had mentioned at some point in time during all of this, is the fact that when the moon created the nightmares, it was a defense mechanism to stop you from getting to like the pyramid and like doing whatever we did back then.
Yeah.
But this is like a malicious attack. This is definitely focused. Yep. So it's there's definitely the difference because again, it's hard to explain.
Well, it's even making a little more sense than what and if it sounds like we're all over the place, we did talk a little bit. By the way, we were on guests on Potato Thumbs podcast on Thursday, and so we talked some of our thoughts on the season there too. So I'm just trying to kind of remind myself what we need to talk about on this podcast. For those that don't listen to Potato Thumbs, do check them out. Actually, really cool group of people. Potato Thumbs podcast, and we were guests, and Des and I this last episode. But I did kind of want to think of like what else we need to talk about to review the season and what's basically going on with the story, because it's cool and all, but this time more than ever, I just kind of feel like even with the closed captioning text and everything, I just was not paying attention very well.
It's a lot to take in too. I mean, coming from, we've all played, D2 vanilla, right? And the Leviathan has been taken over by all this darkness and egregore, or whatever you want to call it.
Nightmares.
It's definitely a lot to take in. Obviously, we not exploring all of the same spaces, but you do have a lot of the same spaces, right? Outside of what?
Yeah, tell us about that, Sin. Yeah,
I mean, I'm in pools now, just kind of roaming around and kind of looking at everything and just kind of taking it in. That's why I didn't get over to the moon yet to check out that skybox. But yeah, I mean, it's
we have the Castellum.
Castellum, you have, really one entrance way to everything else, right?
Not everything else, at least not on patrol.
I mean, for the most part, from what I've seen, you can't get into the throne room, but you go in
And
through dogs
and Gauntlet.
and the gauntlet.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
So,
there.
they're in a mission. I was trying to get to you answering Sin what we can see on patrol.
yeah.
Start
So,
there
yeah.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah, you go from Castellum into the dog arena, and then from there over into pools.
Mhm.
And now I'm just kind of looping around a different way and just kind of taking in different hallways. But you kind of use it's a combination path of like the underbelly and the those two rooms basically to get between all of them.
Yeah, you can either go back to the there's the Castellum, which was the central opening area, like when we were doing the raid. And the two zones we can explore on patrol are dogs, which they call the pleasure gardens. So that's the official name. And the royal baths or pools.
Royal pools, yeah.
Yeah. And we would often just call that baths. Anyways, yes, they have the normal doors that would take you from the central area to each of those areas. And then there's one continuously open door, which isn't open until you end in the encounters. When we were doing the raids, you'd have to either do a key or interact with something to open the underbelly to get to another area. But they have a direct path open between pleasure gardens and pools.
Yeah.
So that adds some convenience there too.
The staffs, if I remember correctly, you had to go and kill a certain enemy type and deposit staffs to open the doors.
Well, no, for Castellum to get like for the normal part of the raid. But yeah, if you wanted to do the underbelly, you had to do a different thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, and there is the new public event, quote, seasonal activity in the Castellum area. Which, how would we describe it?
It's
containment. I think it's called the containment activity.
Yeah. But it's legitimately like for those that have been around D2 long enough, this is Castellum.
Yeah,
like the activity is 100% how you used to open, because there was one of two ways you can get around the raid, like you said before, Kingsley, because you can either shortcut through the underbelly from encounter to encounter, or you can go back out to Castellum and do the entire unlocking process all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Which, depending upon how well you knew the underbelly, one was definitely easier and one was not.
Yeah.
Entirely depending on if you had somebody that knew the underbelly. If you didn't, you just went back out to Castellum, you did that again, and you did it straightforward.
Yeah. And sometimes even if we knew it, it almost seemed, if we knew it was going to be a long path, it was just easier to go. Because it was also knowing you had to kill the little turrets and the little zones. Remember, like the doors would close
yes.
and stuff. So it really just depended on which path there was going to be to take.
But no, yeah, so the seasonal activity is definitely 100% inspired by the old opening of doors for Castellum. Because before you would have to get the standard, place it in front of the thing, defend it. Occasionally there were, with intermittent random, because I believe the Scions also appeared there as well in the bubbles.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that was an immunity thing for the people you needed to kill, or else they would take the standard.
Yeah.
But now it's just part of. It's like half of progressing at the event at a specific stage. So I think that it's because it's primarily opening Castellum combined with Nightmare Hunts.
Yeah, good way to describe
exactly what it is.
And it's public event style, which was really interesting and kind of cool that they're trying this, because if this continues to work well, this really is one of the better ways to do it.
The fact that they have a separate node, though, that will basically try and matchmake you into more populated instances for the public event. Mm-hmm. I really like that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. You can bypass whatever methodologies we've had before for trying to get to, zoning and rezoning, and all this, that, and the other. because Blindwell was also notorious for slow walk. That way you can extend the matchmaking as you zone. So yeah, they seem to have learned the lesson on public event style activities with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I've used it, I've actually always gotten into an instance with an active public event happening. So
yeah, it's just so in your face, right? And when you, even if you don't want to necessarily do the public event and you're, quote, going down for picking the Castellum instead of containment, you're still likely going to see the public event. It's on a very big rotation and it's like right in your face, and there's often going to be someone there. So it's very tempting to join up. There's going to be many reasons why we want to, whether from the weekly seasonal stories where we're required to, all the way to completing triumphs, all the way to there's extra little chests and collectibles that you can only get if you complete the public event and then open side doors. So, they're trying to make it have reasons why we would want to run it.
And also, it's a pretty good source of Ascendant alloys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. People were figuring that out early on.
Yeah, you can get them pretty easily. In fact, the first person that said it was a possible drop, I had gotten so many from like my first 3 or 4 completions, I thought it was guaranteed at first until I didn't get one a couple times. And it's like, oh, no, it is a chance. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's
a
chance.
Good news for all those crafters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what else? And of course, there's the seasonal material thing that you seem to get pretty easily, and then you can open. It's like you interact with a staff. I don't know what exactly the word is, but the vestige of dread as you collect.
Yeah.
And then when you finish tier 3, it's kind of like a wave base, by the way, too. We didn't mention it's like a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3. I mean, the other things have acted like that too, but so it does end at tier 3. But when you finish that, there's like a chest, but then there's also you can interact with. Do you remember what's called? There's like a staff-looking thing there.
It's banner.
Banner, yeah, and then turn in your 500 vestige of dread and get stuff. More stuff.
Yeah, which is where you're going to get the good chance of Ascendant alloy. You get the chance at seasonal stuff, and probably the better chance of getting red border seasonal stuff, other than if you unlock the capability of focusing weapons in the seasonal border.
Yep.
I haven't done that yet. So.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. But I did want to mention, there's a lot of triumphs and collectibles and, quote, secret little things that even if you try to hit it hard, I just barely finished my last one earlier today because some are on a seemingly less often rotation. Anyways, in the 2 side areas, specifically, there's lots of things you can, explore around in there a lot, especially with the fire team. But in the royal pools and the pleasure garden, there are at least, you can look at the triumphs, but at least 2 alcoves. And we put a map in the Discord under infographics, but 2 alcoves that have spawning in little mini bosses, and then 2 in each area, and then also at least 3 or 4 sets of other little enemies that'll beam in from time to time that you have to do certain things to get all these triumphs checked off.
Yeah, these areas are very, very busy. Lots of nightmares, lots of. I think in the pools, there was this one where if you defeat 3 nightmares, you can actually summon this chimera nightmare or whatever, this 3-in-1.
Oh yeah, yep.
Which I didn't quite understand because I was running around the activity looking for. Of course, that's where the opulent chests are, quote unquote, hidden. Not really hidden, but they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. I will say for those, because I know this happened in the gardens. Because there was actually one time where the lighting, of course, went dim, like a public event was coming in.
Yeah.
And there was an entire set of wave enemies spawning inside the bunker at Gardens, where we would normally hide from the white mechanic in Gardens.
Yeah, yep. That's one of the alcoves.
Yeah, so that's. Then there was another one that was like tucked away, which I believe is one of the underbelly paths. Anyway,
Yeah.
because I actually had a blueberry. He was standing up high in that area and shooting at me, and I was like, well, "What's going on here?" So I ended up making my way up towards him, and the enemies were spawning in, and it was like, "Oh, he was getting my attention to kill these guys too." Gotcha. So it's a little nuts how busy like each of these individual areas are.
Yeah. One of my favorites that it was the last one to get done because I was having a hard time. I saw it kind of show up once, but I was the only one in the zone and didn't get it done. And again, today I was the only one, but did get it done. But at the behest of the Empress is in the pools area, and you'll get a message line and a voice line from Keitel saying that she's willing to give some helpers. She doesn't use that term, but you interact with like a little blue flag thing, and then it makes that like dwong noise, like in the battlegrounds or that one strike, and then two blue Keitel's helpers, blue colored cabal come in NPC style, but they're on your side, and they kind of slowly move up as you're just going wave after wave of Scorn, and then eventually a Scorn boss, and then a Colossus boss comes in. It says something of Callus, and you have to kill both of those to complete that one. So kind of fun.
Yeah. Like I said, they've definitely gotten a lot of stuff to attempt to keep us busy for sure.
Okay, so, and I know we don't know, but is Callus on the Leviathan or not? Is Callus alive? Is he what's going on, Callus?
It's hard to say exactly what Callus is now.
I know we don't know still.
Yeah, it's legitimately ridiculous because of course we as Guardians have never interacted or seen directly Callus anyway. Because spoiler alert, but the end of Leviathan was a robot. Which, but I don't know why I say that because again, this season spoils that already with the mission because you actually have to interact with one of his robots. But no, so he's always spoken to us through robots, and I think the theory is the closest we've come to seeing Callus was in the Shadow Realm in Leviathan, which might have been a closer picture of his true self, depending upon the crazy powers he got. One thing I do love about Derelict Leviathan is when you're going up into the throne room, there's even more of the purple stuff just laying everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was essentially, I believe, like the main component to his royal wine, if it isn't his royal wine anyway, which is exactly what he was consuming to give himself vast mind powers anyway. So that's why Leviathan is a world eater, because it would actually eat the planet. He would grind the soil and such of the planet to make his purple wine to give himself psionic powers. So
yeah. And also another thing that's on the Leviathan, which we see at the very end of the dungeon, which we'll talk more about, is there's pyramid ship type stuff at the very end of the dungeon. When you get to the very bottom before you it's almost like it's just starting to form, or he's like starting to bring it into the Leviathan. There's a couple of like of the horsey statue things, just barely. It's like you only notice it at the very end. It looks like Leviathan all the way until the end, and then there's like a few areas in the room right before the final room where it's kind of starting to look like pyramid ship style. Oh, that's why I was wondering, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that his presence is on the Leviathan, but I'm wondering because if the pyramid stuff is kind of taking over, the darkness stuff is congregating on the ship also.
I mean, it's definitely what he's after is some kind of communal or recognition from the darkness. So it's definitely hard to say, like, exactly if he's using the Leviathan as that focal point, or what. It's a little nuts.
Yeah.
Because right now, Callus is one of like the most mysterious like figures we still have in Destiny. Just from like what the crap are his exact goals, other than like the Drifter. That yeah, it's tough to pin down like exactly why or anything.
Yeah. Should we talk about the story first and then maybe the dungeon, or 'cause we might have more to say about the dungeon? I don't know.
We probably will because I mean, I don't know
Sen, are you
a
awake?
lot
Oh yeah.
about what's happening in the dungeon. I mean, I know some of the basics have been through a couple times. There are some 100% very interesting voice lines that I wish I would pay attention a little better to certain things.
Well, that's okay.
Because,
We'll have time to get back to it another week then, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah.
But I was
Because
even the basics, you know.
yeah, well, yeah, and it's so cute. Well, yeah, essentially the super basics are we are invading Callus's mind.
Okay.
We are like looking like because the main collectible in the dungeon are his repressed memories. So yeah, like super basic. We are journeying into his mind to potentially weaken the connection that he's gained to the Nightmare Realm, which I believe is the community designation of the red place in the dungeon.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Okay, so then is the idea, and yeah, at the very beginning when Eris talks to us, and then we kind of go down that little green portal thing, but is the idea his mind is both the regular and the nightmare area, or is the regular
Yes.
area real life? Oh, okay. So it's both areas.
Yes,
even though we're
I
like
do believe.
on the actual Leviathan, his mind version, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, we're definitely kind of it because yeah, it's kind of like a combination of Season of the Slicer with like the nightmare stuff because we're using one of his machines that he used to communicate through to get into his brain, essentially,
Okay.
sort of.
But
Or
then it's
I
certainly
guess
possible.
consciousness would be better.
It's certainly possible then than when I mentioned, because in the dungeon there's some of the pyramid darkness stuff. Maybe that's only in his mind's version, potentially. I don't know. As opposed to the real Leviathan.
Could be essentially like his growing connection to the darkness.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he has gone through interesting like he's the first person I know of that's actually like hunted the darkness down to be recognized by it. Everyone else, including us, or I guess the witness, has always revealed themselves to people rather than someone like Callus is one of the only people I know of that is actually looking to make contact with the witness rather than the witness just contacting them.
Yeah. All right. So the dungeon sin. What did you think about it? Like overall thoughts. We don't have to talk about story now, but like the mechanics, the how it felt, how you like it so far.
Yeah. I actually do like the mechanics of it. You know, once you got him down, I went in a little bit blind. Did that first part there with Batman. I know he ran the first part of the encounter, didn't do the second part. It was with Edifier as well. It took us a few minutes to kind of figure out where we needed to go after we, without spoiling too much of the encounter. People haven't done it yet, but there's basically the first encounter, and when you take down certain scions, you have to do something to progress the encounter. And it took us a few minutes to kind of figure out what we needed to do and where to stand to do it. But after that, it seemed to go pretty easy. I didn't finish the dungeon on my first night. I was getting late, and I had to be up early the next day, so I did finish it on the second night. Des, pretty sure, were you there for that one? Or was that the checkpoint we ran? No, Des, I think you might have been there for my completion, right?
Yep, I was there.
Oh yeah. And but other than that, I mean it's not awful. It's not awful to do once you get the rhythm down. And it does require a rhythm. There's some call outs and some rhythms.
Yeah, it does. It does require rhythm.
Yeah, if you have people actually listening to what the rhythm is, it might be even a little easier.
Listen
Is
to
that
the
right, Ted?
rhythm. Breathe in,
Hey,
breathe
I'm
out.
not the only one who messed up that encounter.
Well,
But
it's good.
you were the main one.
I beg to differ.
Well, no one's gonna be perfect at this at the beginning. I remember even Grasp took a lot of people quite a while to get it down, and that's okay. We don't have any expectations at the Guardian Hub to for how good people's play styles are and everything.
Okay, you say that, but also at the same time, I do have certain expectations of, telling someone's like, we need to be close to this bell to do this thing.
Oh, sure,
And
yeah,
two of us are in this bell, and someone else is like 50 meters away.
yeah. Well, I've played with people like that too. I mean, you can barely say sometimes even ADD comes into play. There's different types of ADD also. Even sometimes I've forgotten, but yeah, normally I personally wouldn't forget stuff like that right away. But yeah, what do you think
to
of
be
the
fair,
dungeon?
to be fair, like I said, once we finally broke down why, Sin did pay more attention, so I'll give him that one.
Sin is the best person to pay attention and not pay attention, right?
Right?
Does that make sense?
I know, because he's
Love you,
sitting
Sin.
there. I know he heard us talk about standing, like where to stand in the final encounter. Still wouldn't do it until I broke down. I was like, okay, this
No,
is
I
why.
mean,
He's like, oh,
I
okay.
mean this is a compliment. Like there's times where
It's
Sin will not pay attention, and then there's times where he's doing 10 things and he's paying attention where I wouldn't be able to pay attention with 10 things.
it's just weird because he's listening
It's amazing.
he listens most of the time, but sometimes, yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
It's a
Sin is
great
weird.
ability you have, Sin.
In all fairness, it is a new dungeon and a lot to take in. And if
Oh,
you
it
want
is,
to,
yeah.
if you want to observe every like nook and cranny and nuance with it, it's which I like to do. I like to take in a little bit more so I can know entirety of like what's going on, try to know where the ads are spawning to. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to running it more.
Well, there's collectibles. I finished getting all my collectibles today, and there is some fun triumphs like run with all clan, run with all same class. Of course, there's master. There's all sorts of things. But again, let's talk about okay, what do you like or not like about the mechanics in this dungeon, Des? I mean, if you had to give it just a basic ranking compared to some other dungeons, how do you like it?
Right now, I do like it. It kind of has Deepstone Crypt syndrome because the mechanics themselves they feel easier to latch onto. Like getting the mechanics isn't the struggle in Duality. And I like that. I do enjoy like more like certain encounters where they're not where the mechanics aren't like super obtuse. Like I said, the best way I can describe it is like Vault versus Deepstone Crypt. Vault was a little harder to decipher even for those that knew it, but Deepstone was always classified as the easier raid because everything was just accessible, I guess.
Yep.
So it was a little easier to understand in Deepstone, whereas, and like I said, this feels easier to understand. Because that's like because you and Kato helped me to start my initial blind run, which y'all weren't blind, so. But once I knew, like especially when the first bell, once you ring it and switch dimensions, once I knew that was there, it's like, okay, so now I'm going to have to look for potentially hidden bells to shoot somewhere and like switch and swap. And so the navigation of it kind of, like I said, it was easy to understand, which of course is just navigation, so that's a good thing. But it also helped you get that grasp of switching dimensions for the actual encounters themselves, where you learn it's like, okay, things are different in this dimension. So tweak around and work around with that, and it is quite nice.
Yeah. The thing that's coming to mind to me right now is I like the mechanics that they're not just too simple or basic, but you're right. Also, I was talking up too much. They're not complicated either. But the thing that's making the dungeon fun for me is, for the most part, we have to care about ad control more.
Yes.
There's a lot of ads, and it's keeping it interesting that way, keeping on your toes, moving around a lot,
Yeah.
All that type of stuff.
I don't feel this is going to get the DSC easy / boring part that quickly, purely because, ad density is rough.
Yeah.
Ad density is rough. And the fact that there's never a stop to the ads. I mean, sure, you can clear the ads to pauses, but they are only momentary pauses. So there is no like super, even though nothing has a timer, there's still no like super, okay, we can sit here for a while and figure something out. You're going to have more ads come in.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of when you're in the darkness zones, there are timers, and that's what I love. You're right. There's no timers in the main zones, so you can kind of catch your breath there if you need, but then you have to always be on your toes for ads in both areas. And then in the darkness area, you even have a timer, that you, well, except for the very end, there's no timer, right? In the, when you're doing DPS,
there's still timers.
In essence, there's a timer just because it only lasts for so long. Yep. Well, anyways, but I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I was going to mention, I guess we don't have to spoil what the quote boss is, unless you think we should, but I was just thinking.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare of Callus, yeah.
Yeah, it's Callus's like
main nightmare?
it's like his own fear or regret or something. But yeah, it's his nightmare, and it is very telling. And I was actually surprised that this individual was a crafted enemy, because on the surface they looked like somebody else, and then I realized, oh wait, no, it is this person. Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah. It's so unique to see what they came up with, because this dungeon is a pretty large play space, and there's only like 5% of it that feels like it's zones we've seen before, like the entry area. That was the
Tribute Hall.
Yeah, Tribute Hall and the old shooting gallery where we would see numbers. And I think that's basically it. And then, of course, you come back to there at the very end. But everything else is like these great, huge play spaces. They're pretty fun, pretty neat.
Yeah. And I love how they have slight architectural differences the further you go. Because there are definitely places that reminded me more of Menagerie in the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were more spaces that definitely reminded me more of Leviathan. So I like the fact that like I said, the architecture choices can actually be noticed.
Yeah. And I really liked an area towards the end. You're in these big chasm areas, like the inner part of the ships. And it reminded me of Spire of Stars, where you see all the ships connection points, or like in the Dreadnought, that middle area where there's like a wall on one side, a wall on the other side, and you have to find your way over. And it's just so cool to think like, these are like, we know there's like big play spaces on either sides of these walls, but then there's like these big open chasm areas too. And those are like the Star Wars looking or Death Star looking areas, with all the ship interconnection things.
Oh, and also like you called the Shattered Throne-esque areas as well, with the high beams and the pillars.
Oh yeah. They
Just-
seem a bit easier. Are they a little bit wider?
Yeah.
I don't know. Something about
Probably not, but just the fact that we don't have, a-hole dick ogres that can push you off is
Yeah.
probably just a million times better.
and
There's no
rotating lights.
Right.
Good point. And for most of, well, when you're in the shadow area, I guess if you fall off, you're going to die there. But in the main areas, a lot of times they're just ultimately just over ground that you could land on.
Yeah. And also, I had noticed, because while we were running the dungeon, the Bell of Conquests that you ring in order to shift dimensions sounded familiar to me. And that was our Season of the Chosen season artifact.
I do remember a bell artifact. Okay.
Yeah, that was the Bell of Conquests. It was there. It was the thing to signify the rite of passage. So that way we can challenge Kaido's champions.
Yeah.
So yeah. I ended up looking it up, and the first thing that popped up was best seasonal mods to get in the Bell of Conquest. It's like, oh yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and then of course there's like a big bell at the end, and what kind of represents with Callus and them about like you said, conquests and stuff.
Big giant freaking bell.
It's cool. And chains. I mean, we're not giving away like who the boss is or like the mechanics or anything, but the chains kind of like vaguely 20% represent the chains like in the Leviathan raid encounter.
Yeah. They did have
very light-ish.
Yeah, the pools.
Mm-hmm.
The chains and the pools. I'd almost forgotten about those.
Yeah. Well, anything else about the dungeon? We all have a couple clears, something like that.
I do have 2 clears.
Yep.
One full run and then a checkpoint with Sin, and I might have a freaking another one to run today.
Yeah, we'll all be at it for a while. Oh, and the loot is farmable.
The loot is different.
We also put late breaking in infographics channel, a loot table infographic.
Nice.
Yeah, the loot is different. It's interesting. It's farmable. Pinnacle only once per week per character, but I heard Master Pinnacles are continuously farmable.
Because that's the thing. Because I thought whenever they mentioned Grasp was farmable, but you would only get like additional rolls to whatever you would get dropped that week. So even though you can complete the activity like multiple times and get stuff, it's mainly like roll farming.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a mistake or what, but you definitely get different stuff like dropping when you complete an encounter in this. Because when I was helping Sin and Lucifer, I had a pulse rifle drop from the final encounter, but on my original runs, I had nothing but armor the entire way through for drops. So, yeah it is different. Strangely, it is different.
That's pure farmable then, because according to the sheet, the pulse rifle is one of the legit drops for the 3rd encounter.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Interesting.
That blew me away whenever, because because I noticed because of course the final encounter I believe gives you 2 drops, and one of the things was another piece of armor. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I noticed it's like kinetic weapons full. I'm like, wait, what? And sure enough, cleared out a spot, and there's pulse rifles. Like, oh, wow.
And what's more, they're trying something interesting and new with the exotic drop, which is a sword. It is RNG, but you can increase your chances with doing things in the dungeon, specifically checking off triumphs, One of the things you can do is collect all the collectibles, all the memories, and then when you've collected them all, and you check that off, you get in essence, a buff for the dungeon in whole. I forget what it's called, but then you'll have a greater chance of getting the exotic to drop from thenceforth.
Yeah.
So
this is a super nice idea. I hope they find a way to incorporate more into.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's actually rewarding you for like, and for those that have like, sketchy RNG, like for exotics and stuff, people that are still running, Val, for the exotic. I mean, good lord, people that still haven't gotten effects from Vault yet. I mean, just being able to like go through is like, okay, I'm having bad luck, but now there's these 3 things that I can work on that will give me a better chance at the exotic. I like that.
Yep. What is one of them? Isn't like doing it on master will also give you getting a master completion?
Solo, and all of the scannables were the 3 that I noticed just checking it out.
Yeah, completing it on master will give you an increased chance. Solo, without dying, and then also without dying. So you can do it non-solo also without dying, and then also just regular solo too. Regular solo too, even if you die. So there's still like 4 more things along with collecting all the memories.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough though. I mean, I can foresee it being like once we get the rest of these other fragments unlocked that we don't have access to yet, it's gonna be better for sure. I can foresee because there's already 1 fragment that we don't have access to. I believe it's Ember of Imperiums. We're getting either solar weapon or ability kills will extend your restoration effects. That will help a lot.
Yep. Plus, I'm even getting closer to and looking forward to getting to 71. I'm almost to 1570 right now. So once we start getting to 71, 76 power level, and yeah, more protection, more fragments, and also I'm looking forward to eventually getting. It's on the last column of the artifact, Classy Restoration. Has anyone looked at that one yet?
I have probably like 3 times.
It's okay. You mean you don't have it memorized?
Definitely not.
Anyways, activating your solar class abilities grants you restoration.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be super nice.
Yes, I want to save a little bit of like some cool builds that we're finding out for maybe next week because we're also going to be focusing on that with some guests. But I do want to say this Class D Restoration will build into some other builds I'm doing because I want to do Empowering Rift for reasons, but then I will also have healing with my Empowering Rift. So.
I love the fact that to help with Final Encounter, because, okay, I made mention in the Discord that potentially anyone can do the limitless melee thing. I found out no, that is a hunter aspect. Oops. But yeah, it is part of the. Oh god, which one was it? It's the one that modifies your supers. I believe it's the new Knock 'em Down. Yes, it is the new Knock 'em Down. Where if you're radiant, getting a kill with your solar melee will recharge it. And that is again fantastic because I made an entire build for the last encounter to give me more grenades. So my solar melee kills were giving me solar wells. Solar wells were giving me grenade energy. Dodging around enemies was going to refresh my melee and give me more grenade energy because of double bombardier. I had double grenade kickstarts on my arms because I was using healing grenade for survivability, which still didn't keep me alive most times, but it kept me alive when it needed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the classy restoration and like I said, the Emperor of Empyreans. It's going to be weird to go into like this self-healing supportive hunter. It's just strange. Because the closest things we've had to with hunters and support before were of course were void, and that was mainly tether debuffs and potential invisibility gimmicks, which is still our thing, but the fact that we can directly help with like weapon damage since like hunters apparently lean into radiant more, so yeah, weird things in a very different playstyle, considering they made healing grenade a separate grenade.
Oh yeah, and that's even another one I want to play with more, but just this other build that I have is just too fun to switch off for now, especially if something changes. So I better stay on it for now in case anything does.
For sure. Like, I mean, it's weird. They're really giving it's different. This interesting identities, and I even made the joke to Kato when we were running last encounter. I made the joke of being glad we played around Lumina so much. Because basically he ended up, because I knew his tactics with like healing grenades and stuff like that, I already kind of knew what to do in like emergency situations with healing grenades. It's like you res a person, drop a healing nade right there. There you go, you're kind of safe. So yeah.
Play the field.
So yeah, it's interesting, like the things that I ended up picking up without even knowing that I would need to know these things. So thank you, Lumina.
Thank you. Hey, and one other thing, it's been a busy week, and I don't necessarily know that we're going to do this each week, especially maybe not this next week because of Iron Banner, but we set up some of the weekly new featured raid things. It was Last Wish this week, and all three of us were in separate raids, right?
Yeah.
We had we didn't plan for it to be that way, but in essence, we had a Des raid, a Kingsley raid, and a Sin raid.
I just think, well, yeah, because I think you and Sin made one, but I noticed there was one for 8 o'clock. I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
like,
which I think Kato made it that one originally. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, because the other two kind of filled up, and it's like, okay, that's fine. It's 8 o'clock, fine, join. I don't care if nobody else joins. If this falls apart, it falls apart, but I'm joining it before it fills up.
Well, anyways, they did work out, and it is so wild to see a pinnacle drop at the end of Last Wish these days. It just drops on the screen when you finish. It's not like a chest you go up to anything. And it was great to, in my crew, had one person, Metal, that had only done about half the raid in the past, and then Jealous and his buddy had experience in the past, but they hadn't run the whole thing recently.
Yeah.
And Red Grackle and then Zebrak were in my group. And so, I was doing a little bit of teaching here and there, but all in all, a great crew. We got it done, not too difficult. And I really like the idea of these weekly featured raids because it'll give reasons to someone's like, hey, we haven't run, someone wants to run a DSC. Well, if it's coming around next week or the week after, we might as well wait till then and really make it an event because we'll also have a pinnacle and better loot drops and everything.
It'll be far more worth it.
Yes.
Which, might stagger like interest in it, but at least that interest will peak whenever it is featured. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will be nice to run through some of these. Like our raid crew was about normal to what I did end up running with Salt and his significant other. The name I am now forgetting.
Oh, Star or something, I think.
Yes. I'm sorry. But it was a super fun run. Many of us had not run it I know it's been since I got 1K like 2 seasons ago that I've even touched Last Wish at all. Yeah, and many of us have been in the same boat, so getting to Riven and trying to figure her back out
Oh yeah.
was a little bit of a journey. But yeah, we got through. It didn't take us too long. And of course, it let me recount the tale of Kato's first time through Last Wish, which is still some of my best memories in Last Wish. Now,
I think I
carrying
was there
someone,
too.
I think we were all there.
I seem to remember him saying, "What even is going on?" Like we were going really fast and not explaining things to him.
No, exactly. Because they were like, "Yeah, imagine doing this and not knowing this, that, or the other." I'm like, "Yeah, imagine doing this and not being told anything." Isn't that right, Kato?
That was funny.
Oh,
Because obviously the teaching and the Sherpas would normally happen depending on the crew, but like I think Kato was the only one that hadn't run it, and all of us were,
yeah.
And so we're like, "Do you want us to just get it done?" And I forget what it was, but anyways, he was very confused of what was going on.
Yes, because explanations were down to a minimum.
Yeah.
Shoot things here, shoot things there.
Okay, I know exactly probably too, especially if people like Sin or whoever was in the group, but I could understand actually of all the raids, someone who has never experienced Last Wish before, and especially when you get to Vault, when you start hearing dragon on stripper pole, facing right, bird swimming through seaweed. Okay, we're going to breadsticks now. Okay, no, run over to meatball instead. Okay, penumbra is the only sin. People are like, "What the hell?"
Exactly. The new reactions to daddy issues are always like premium.
Yeah.
Because even then, like everything comes up. It's like bored bird looking, facing left but looking right.
Yeah.
And like fish through seaweed, bird swooping down. Then all of a sudden, daddy issues.
Yeah.
What?
I had one too. They're like dragon flying down, and it was actually a bird, the dive bombing bird. But I could kind of understand why they thought it was a dragon because we were saying dragon for so many other symbols. I'm like, wait, what's the dragon flying down? I'm like, oh, okay, it's probably the bird one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as you can try to just describe it as best as you can, we can figure it out.
It's like a game of Pictionary.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. Got to keep it interesting. We got to keep Sin awake too. What are you up to right now?
My bird is swimming through seaweed.
Whoa. Okay.
No, I've been just roaming around Pleasure Gardens here. Pleasure Gardens.
Getting the stuff done.
Yeah, I got controlled burn randomly. I don't even know what I did, but kill some of these nightmares. That's just roaming around in a circle, collecting heavy and just taking them down as quickly as I can and deleting blues as fast as they come in. And because that's still a problem. I have not cleaned out my inventory that on my actual person, even though we've got 100 more spaces. A lot of the stuff I've just been hoarding on my character because I want to do something with it. I just haven't done anything with it yet.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, also PSA, for whenever you're in Pleasure Gardens or Royal Baths, you'll notice a red hole in the area. If you see a shimmering, shining enemy that spawns, they will drop an orb, which you take to hole to deposit to spawn a scythe in that area. Just in case people don't know that.
I'm actually swinging mine around right now.
Yeah.
The scythe, that is.
Nice.
Not your red hole?
No. This thing is got some crazy range on it with the R2 attack.
Yeah, it's Scythe has a new seasonal. When I saw the trailer, I fell for it because again, Bungie cinematography tends to be very specific. But the fact that they showed a hunter with it, and when the hunter first brandished it, it looked like a super pop. So here my mind for like a half a day essentially thought, oh my god, did they like get rid of knives and give us a scythe for a super? I would not be mad at that, like at all. But then the season came out and it's like attached to the seasonal activity. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool too. Yeah, that's fine.
It's definitely cool. And summiting on the ground, yeah, it goes way far out and it's powerful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Inspect Me, check out this new emblem that I have. This is the week 1 emblem for completing all the seasonal challenges, which took a fair amount of time, let me tell you. I don't know why they made an emblem for just the week 1. I can't imagine there's going to be emblems for every week, but once you complete all the seasonal challenges for week 1, you'll get a Bungie Rewards digital redemption, and then you can get this emblem.
Well, now that gives me incentive to complete my last seasonal
It
challenge.
actually did. That's kind of why I'm mentioning it. I didn't want to do the Gambit and the momentum control, but then I hopped in it today, and momentum control wasn't bad at all, actually. I was doing pretty okay. In fact, I got one of the... How many kills do you have to get for Shax to say, the line that they have on Guardian Down? Hazel, you're in the chat. So they can witness you. Whatever. I got a lot of kills, so I got that line. So had fun in momentum control today. Yeah.
But no, yeah, that's no, that's not 7th column.
I know I got at least 5. I thought I got 6 because I was standing in a well and everyone was running up to me like dum-dums, and I was throwing my solar grenades and had a good auto rifle, and so I got a lot. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to brag, but I got lucky. But
I actually had a lot of fun, like popping into momentum control again. I tried like an idiot. I tried like a normal loadout, and then I got reminded because I got murdered. I think it was a scout rifle. I got murdered by something, and it's like, oh yeah, this is momentum control. Let me put on the high impact scout rifle and start 2-tapping people from across the map.
Yeah.
And
Firefright works really well, auto rifle, because of its excellent range and stability, and I was doing okay with it too, because momentum, you don't have to hit a lot of shots to get the kills, but on the maps that had range, that weapon seemed to work very well. People were not expecting to get dead from me with that.
Yeah, I ended up like kind of accidentally completing the momentum control because I normally don't try and complete the extra like momentum control and usually the team scorched modes. I definitely don't try and do those all in 1 week, just to prevent burnout and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I ended up accidentally doing it this time because I was mainly wanting to test blades or knives in PvP and see how they did and see if they felt any better. Because beyond, of course, equipping the fragment that everyone has where your solar super projectiles have better tracking or aim assist, they did change knives a little bit to make tracking, quote, more predictable. But either way, all the help all changes and all things definitely help knives feel so much better in PvP. So much better.
Yeah.
Like I can actually run Blade Barrage in PvP without feeling like garbage anymore. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, what else do we have?
3% for Dredging Up Victory. So
okay,
I'm not that far from completing it. And
just go for it. Get that triumph.
I know, right?
Or the emblem.
I was going to let it sit there because I know there's going to be more Gambit stuff coming up in later weeks. But like, as soon as you mentioned week 1 emblem, it's like, or I could do it now.
Yeah, the Gambit one was the most annoying.
I haven't had that bad of a time in Gambit.
I had a great time in momentum control today and a horrible time in Gambit, and only one. I should have just looked for a team, but I went in the solo playlist and only won 2 matches out of like 8 that I had to do to get it done.
Lord, I've
To get
won
enough, yeah.
I've won like 2 out of 3, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 out of 2. It might be like a 50-50 split, but yeah, I mean, I have not had an awful time in Gambit.
And that digital reward, by the way, by the time this comes out, it will be what, Monday, Tuesday. You can still earn that reward up through August 17th.
Yes. Yes.
So you don't have to necessarily get it done now. You just got to get it done soon-ish.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. What it is it's just the reward for doing all of the week 1 seasonal challenges.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see what the other challenges are like, because some of these were a little long, if I might say so, where you had to get a lot of kills with auto rifles that almost seemed like it was like, yeah, no rush, get them done
Right.
a few weeks in, whatever, you know?
Yeah, the auto rifles took a minute.
Yeah.
But of course, thankfully, I was rushing. I was like doing so much of the seasonal event. It just kind of happened slightly organically. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Also, I guess we the fact that the additional fragments were not tied to first completion of the dungeon, but rather some absurd amount of completions of seasonal activity.
That's right.
Which, thankfully, as I read through the TWAB, there doesn't seem to be a time limit to this campaign of completing the seasonal activity. It's more of a whenever we get it done, then these fragments will unlock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I mean, at the very least, they're not putting a time limit on it, which I kind of like that aspect to it.
Yeah. They also mentioned they think it'll happen in not hardly any time. I forget the actual wording they were used, but
yeah,
whatever that means.
I mean, we've come together as a community to do worse things, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's I think that's the biggest news from 12 too. Because of course most of it is about either the opening of the season and linking to the Vidocs, to the opening of the dungeon, which hadn't happened yet at the posting of the 12. So
yeah,
and they did pretty much nothing to spoil the dungeon in the 12, which I would definitely dig. Like I'm definitely okay with this new mentality of holding off on things until like release, because it was actually super nice to like not be so informed about the season until at least like the launch trailer and Soldier 3.0 Vidocs came out. So
yeah,
I would not be opposed if this is like going forward.
Right on. Well, just a reminder again, like you mentioned, check us all out on Potato Thumbs Podcast, a great podcast. Check them out, subscribe to them, listen to them also, along with all the other podcasts we've mentioned in the past. We're just mentioning them right now because we were guests on there recently. But yeah, definitely check out destinypodcasts.com where you can see the complete list. And if it is not complete or something's wrong, please let me know. And we have some great guests. Check it out in the Discord. I won't announce it on the show because I don't like doing that, just in case. But we have the names mentioned in our events in the Discord right now. You can see who's coming up on our next show. It's going to be a great duo, and we are going to be most likely talking builds and then other just fun shit talk or whatever.
Yeah.
You're saying
Sounds
you
good
don't
to
want to
me.
jinx it.
I'm just trying to be a professional, Sin. You never know what can happen. And
Fair.
keep people on their toes. If they are hearing this and don't know, then it'll give them incentive to look around in the Discord and interact. There you go. All right. Thanks for thanks for a great start of the season, Bungie.
Yeah. Yeah,
we love you, man. And we know that there should be at least To me, it seems like 6. In the past, there's been 3. I'm sure there'll be like sub variations, but weekly missions and things to come back for weeks to come. If they do 6, boy, that's 2/3 of the season then, and then we'll have the solstice event.
Yep, just solstice now.
Yes, just solstice. There's no heroes involved or anything else. All right. Sin, tell us something good. Tell us something really exciting that you've been doing, and then you can also tell us where people can find you.
Since Potato Thumbs podcast, we talked, a little spoiler alert, by the time this comes out, hopefully somebody's listened to it already who listens to the show. But I said during that podcast, I haven't really played around with Loreley on the Titan much. I had started doing that during the dungeon. That does work really well. It does makes the Titan pretty much a tank. You can take a lot of damage with sitting in one of those solar flares for sure. And getting that solar flare to go on a rally barricade or just a barricade there, super helpful. But that's about it.
All right. And where can people find you?
They can find me, shoulder charging Kingsley, off the map or over on Twitter at sin_media. DesRaven, where can they find you?
You can find me, of course, all across Discords, where I normally hang, as well as on Twitter at DES_Raven. So, Kingsley?
Yes, you can find me as KingsleyMac all the places. Definitely hanging out in the Discord and on Twitter. I occasionally post, but there I am MC Kingsley, just to have it be different. No, it's actually not why, but if you don't know why, I won't tell you today why. And then, you can find information about our Discord, our podcast, how to join our clan, information about Patreon, everything that you may want to know about the Guardian Hub, either on Twitter at the Guardian Hub or our lovely website, theguardianhub.com.
Best hub on the net.
Thank you, Zin. Thank you, Des. And thanks, everyone, for listening into our show. We really appreciate you. And we will talk to you again next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Later.
Bye, Hazel.